Hi everyone. So I know it's been a while since I've posted a YouTube video, but life's been pretty crazy. Between working my butt off to pay for uni and bird food and school, yay! Um, Life's been pretty rough. So haven't been able to get a video out, but right now I'm actually working at a resort. Much of a resort as you can get in Northern Ontario. Um, so I figured I would do a couple videos tonight because I have nothing better to do, and why not? So I'm going to do a video right now on toys, um, especially since today I realized how important it is to find a good breeder who appreciates toys for birds. Um, so I'll tell you a little bit about what happened. Me and my boyfriend have been toying a lot about ideas for what we would like to do after university and, stuff like that, things we would like to get in the future. And I was talking to him about macaws. I've always really liked macaws. As pets, I've known a few, and um, that really got him into looking at, different possibilities of birds. So he was over at the house one day checking out the computer, and he just dropped his jaw and started swearing like I've never heard anybody swear before in my entire life. So he pulls me off the bed, and I walk over to the computer, and he's stabbing his finger at the screen on the computer saying, "Look at that bird cage." And I couldn't believe it. There was a pair of blue and gold macaws in a cage with no toys. And as he scrolled down, there was a pair of scarlet macaws, a pair that were meant to be a hybrid pair, conures, budgies, cockatiels, and they're sitting in these massive cages, as they described them, with no toys. The only cage that I could say with notable size had 4 pairs of cockatiels in them and not one toy. I was furious. I couldn't believe it. And so I emailed my breeder and told her about what had happened, and she told me this is normal. It's normal to see breeders nowadays who just don't care. They don't care that their birds don't have toys. And I think people lose the idea of how to care for birds because of how they see them. It's the same thing that has happened to dogs and cats and just about every other pet on the entire face of the planet. Like 100 years ago, when you bought a dog and brought it home, it was tied outside to the front of the house and had a dog house, and you fed it scraps, and that's just how the dog lived. Now they have dogs that go to groomers every week and have their toenails painted because people have seen other people do this, and it's just like, oh, well, that's how it's supposed to be. Or, you see other dogs who are a little bit more reasonably taken care of, and, they live inside, and they have good food, and they go to the vet regularly, and they're brushed and played with and loved because that's how breeders treat them, and that's how they tell their clients to treat them. This doesn't happen with birds. And I think that's a lot of the reason why people have this misunderstanding that birds don't need toys. Birds are smart. You would not believe how smart birds are. For those of you out here who read a lot, a book that you might be interested if you like birds as well was written by Dr. Irene Pepperberg. She did a research project on an African gray parrot. And before you say, oh, well, the bird was probably, some specially bred bird, it wasn't. Alex was picked out of a container with 4 birds in it, a big bird cage, and she pointed at one bird and said, "I want that one." And they grabbed a net, and off Alex went. And for 30 years, he was part of a training regiment, and he learned colors, shapes. You could hand him a credit card, and he would tell you that it was made of plastic, and it was blue or red or green or whatever it happened to be. And it didn't have to be the same thing. He would go places, and people thought he was a scam, and they'd hand him anything they had in his pockets, and he would always answer correctly. Birds are a lot smarter than people give them credit for. Um, Even ravens have been known to make the sound of the telephone so that people will go back inside and they'll punch things off the barbecue. They're smart. They're very manipulative and they know how to get what they want. Which is why toys are so vitally important. Um, there are a lot of different toys you can get for your birds. Smaller birds, depending on the species, and every bird is different. Smaller birds tend to like things that shred easily. They're not one to work on a toy for hours and hours and hours. I find little bells, especially lovebirds, or little birds rather, especially lovebirds, like bells. Um, some birds don't. I don't have a bird that is completely obsessed with a bell. Um, my birds do like to shred things, though. We like to get munch balls from the dollar store. They're about this big, and one of my birds in particular, Augie, will sit at that ball and chew it apart and chew it apart and chew it apart. Um, I know some birds who like bigger toys, some bigger birds that like smaller toys. Um, the one thing that I would like to stress is that you make sure that all the toys that you buy are safe. Don't buy toys that are painted. Don't buy toys that have a lot of loose ends or have rope that, the ends stick out of, because the last thing you need is for a toenail to get stuck. That is not fun. Um, so yes, make sure first and foremost that your toys are safe. Play them over with your fingers. If there's a chain link in it, make sure that the chain link is big enough that your bird's foot cannot get stuck in it. I've had a lot of people say that, or I've heard of a lot of people who have put toys in their bird cages where the links were too small, or there was rope on it and the bird's foot got stuck and the bird died. They hang themselves, or they freak out and they end up hitting something and they snap their necks. Like, there's 100 different things that can happen with a bird toy that's not safe.